To learn more about why President-elect Trump wants the U.S. to own Greenland, we are speaking with Captain Douglas Ernest, a U.S. Army veteran and business owner, also the author of The Spirit of a True Patriot. Welcome. Good to have you with us. Now, President Trump says that having Greenland is critical for the U.S.'s national security and world freedom. Why do you think that would be, and would you call it critical?
No, thank you very much for having me to let me voice my perspective on this. And this area, this massive land is extremely strategic to the well-being of the United States. It's the gateway to Russia. It's another, strategic target similar to like Panama Canal where ships can get through. And furthermore, it's the halfway between America and Moscow. If we look back in 1947, President Truman tried to buy the land for $100 million and was declined by Denmark. And over the years, we've had talks back and forth, but nobody's ever been able to put a deal together. It's strategically to our advantage to have this land because we can put a base there or add to our bases that are there. We can add to our weaponry that's in this place. And it just gives us a foothold to have strength in that part of the area and closest to the Arctic Ocean, between ocean, and will fend off China and Russia if any instability were to come in the future.
And how would you describe the current relationship between the U.S. and Greenland?
The relationship has been great, and we can see between Prime Minister Iwedu talking about, deflecting the last couple of days, saying they want to become independent, which is a farce. It's not possible. They do not have their own military. They're dependent upon other countries to defend them. They've been lucky to have their police force instituted about 50 to 60 years ago. The only resources they have is minerals, and they have fishing, but everything else has to be brought in. Another thing that's very, very important to understand about Greenland is it's a body of land about 25% bigger than Alaska. Alaska has 700,000 residents. There's only 56,000 residents in this country because 80% of the country is blanketed in ice and it's inhabitable. Some of the places that are inhabitable have been used to store nuclear weapons. We had a secret nuclear program back there in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and we don't even know if it's alive because it's top secret today. But after Truman had tried to buy it, we increased our breadth in this area. And it's something that I would never deem possible except for a president like President Trump to be able to put a deal of this great together. It's just mind blowing that he would even try. And it just shows you what he stands for, to trying to make America great, increase our threshold across the country, and take care of our resources that are being the best interest of the American people.
And do you see Donald Trump Jr.'s visit to Greenland as the first step towards potentially making it a part of the U.S.?
Absolutely. It's a possibility. To me, it just seems like such a long shot because we're so used in the last 4 years of just giving away the kitchen sink. And I say that as a metaphor because for the last years, we've given away trillions of dollars to other countries. We've not taken care of our own people. We've not tried to increase our growth. We tried to actually give it away around the world. And to the first time, even before he's been in office, President Trump's attempting to do something monumentous for our nation, to be able to make our defense stronger, to be able to bring people together, be able to give us a foothold across the world. Just to relate this to the Panama Canal controversy you've seen on the news, we forsaken 38,000 people of American citizens died during the construction of the Panama Canal. Jimmy Carter, rest in peace, gave away the Panama Canal when I was a child in the 70s, and it was one of the worst decisions ever made in U.S. history. We now pay $100,000 up to $500,000 for our military vessels to cross this area. And it was just a catastrophe of a decision that was supposed to be in good faith for foreign policy. This is a decision, if we could possibly put this deal together, or even just increase our relationship with Greenland so that we can have more control in that area, it would be monumentous for our country. It'd be great for the citizens. It would increase the strength of our nation and keep our enemies abroad at bay.
And what is the relationship between Greenland and Denmark, and what interests does Denmark have in wanting to hang on to Greenland?
Well, Greenland is owned by Denmark. It is overseen by Denmark, since the 1700s, and it's gone back and forth. During World War II, Denmark took a larger role and was responsible for defending it. We've had a back and forth with Greenland attempting to be independent, but they can never truly be independent because they can't defend themselves. If a nation can't have their own military, if they can't defend itself, they can never truly be independent. with 56,000 inhabitants on a body of land that is bigger than Alaska, it's virtually impossible to have your own military. The most you can have is, and realistic is have a militia, if you will, but you cannot have a self-sustained military, a navy, Air Force. It's just not feasible. Another land, another nation needs to be controlled. Now, being that it's the highway to the Arctic and it's the middle of the path to getting to Moscow, many great nations have interest in this body of land. Now that we have this gateway and it's understood what can be done, not only from the Russians, but now the Chinese, if they intervene and put their threshold and their tentacles in the Panama Canal, it's become a much more important, iconic part of history. And one other thing I just found so ironic as I've been talked to a couple of people over the last few weeks, President Truman, his name was T-R-U-M, Truman. If you look at President Trump, T-R-U-M-P, they have the first four letters of the name. President Truman got very close to making a deal, but he couldn't get it closed. It would be just amazing if President Trump could possibly put this together or even just increase our threshold in this area. And I believe something's going to happen because you can see the relationship blossoming and things changing rapidly right before our eyes. And he's not even president yet.
Interesting point there. Now, you've alluded to this earlier, but China has shown interest in expanding its reach in the Arctic region. For example, it wants to set up its Belt and Road through the Arctic Sea. Mm-hmm. If this were to happen, what could it mean for U.S. interests?
It just puts us at a disadvantage tactically. When we go to military training school, every leadership school I've ever been to talks about tactics. You have to plan your strategy. You got to plan your 6 month, your 1 year, your 5 year, your 10 year, your 20-year horizon. Now, we're not planning that. The last 4 years, we've actually backtracked over the last 4 years. We've had the horrible Afghanistan debacle. We've had nations fighting across the globe. We've had just tremendous botched foreign policy initiatives, and it's been a disaster. So we have a lot of work to do. The Trump administration is going in with their hands tied behind their back from what's been going on. Resources are tight. The gateway to the other parts of the world have been closed, and our adversaries, and we want to call Russia, we want to call China. We don't want to call them adversaries because we don't want to have war, but they call us an adversary. They're constantly trying to, take an edge over our economy, take away our resources to develop their mainland, especially China. So if getting this land secured where our interests are protected is detrimental to our success in the future. Now, I believe something's going to happen, whether it's increased relationship or a purchase of it, because you can see the effort that's being put into it and the effort, the lights that's been shined on this land because of what's been going on recently. And I believe good things are ahead.
Certainly, all eyes currently on this area. Thank you so much for this discussion, Captain Douglas Ernest. Good to have you on our show.
My pleasure. Appreciate it. Happy 2025 to you and your viewers.
And same to you.